All right, 1, 2, 3. If you've just been wishing about going fishing and you're still on the shore, grab your camping gear and meet us right here. We got all kinds of fun in store. It's time for a vacation, for some rest and relaxation. Forget your cares and join us bears in the great outdoors.
Welcome to the party. You found the Mouse Castle Lounge, the place to be for good times and great conversations from the world of Disney. The bar is open, your table is waiting, and drinks are now being served. Come on in. And now, here's your host, the keeper of the Mouse Castle Lounge, Tim Calloway.
Hey, 2 weeks in a row. I guess we really are back. Welcome to the lounge. It's May 8th, 2018, and I'm Tim Calloway. Now, in the opening, you heard a brief music clip from our guest today. She is singer, actress, and fellow podcaster, Tammy Tuckey. Tammy, as you might expect, is a lifelong Disney fan, and right now, she's living the dream. She's recorded and produced a musical album called You'll Find Me on Main Street. It's a collection of 7 songs, all heard at one time or another at Walt Disney World. Now, these are all personal favorites of Tammy, and some of the songs you may be very familiar with, others may sound a little obscure, but they're all great tunes, and Tammy does a terrific job with them. Now, recording the album gave Tammy the opportunity to work with some of the musical artists that were involved with the original official Disney versions of the songs, and Tammy's going to share some of those stories with us today. So come find us on Main Street and in the Mouse Castle Lounge with my guest, Tammy Tuckey. Tammy, how you doing today?
Hi, Tim. I'm doing well. I think it's been like over, I want to say 3 years, but I think it's been 2 years since I last saw you and talked with you verbally.
I know, like
face
to face kind of stuff. I know, it's been like 2.5 years. It was the D23 Expo in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And
plenty to do.
And
you found me.
I found you. And as I recall, you were
was
stalking.
I in line for somebody?
You were stalking, and you were trying to line up stuff with Nick Ranieri and Ed Asner.
Oh yes, Nick and Ed. Oh, and I had already interviewed Nick and Ed. I had already interviewed them. I never met them before, so I wanted to introduce myself and say thank you for being on the show. And I gave them a little magnets of the show just to say thank you. Here's my appreciation. Means the world to me. And then Nick was drawing custom-made drawings, and he had one of Emperor Cusco, so I said, I need it. And I think that's where I was. I was talking to Nick, and we had bumped into each other, so it worked out just nice.
Yes, exactly. And then, 2.5 years later, here we are again.
I'm glad, though, because I don't know why it took so long to talk to you again. You know what I mean? We've been typing and messaging each other, so it's really nice to hear your voice again and to have your show back. Yay! I'm so excited.
Yay! Thank you so much. I appreciate that. It is good to be back. And see, I had to bring the show back because you've got this new album, and we got to talk about it.
Oh, you didn't just do it for me, did you, Tim?
I did it just for you, and I am being totally honest and sincere.
I'm so honored. Thank you. And I was trying to find my way to the castle. I was like, you know what? I need to be able to get in there sometime. So now I am.
Yeah, here you are. You're in the Mouse Castle Lounge. Let's talk about You'll Find Me on Main Street. First and foremost, congratulations. Fantastic.
Thank you.
I listened to it for the first time last night, and it's like, wow, this Tammy Tuckey person, she really is good at this stuff. It was like, wow. I mean, I was really blown away by it. But, it sounds great. And how did the idea for this come to you? Is this something you've been wanting to do for a long time? Was it just something, clicked in your head one day? It's like, I need to do a Disney album. Kind of take me through the whole creative process here.
I think, thank you very much for your very kind words. I've actually gotten the same type of reaction from almost everybody across the map who knows me, but doesn't know my musical talents. I don't have an ego. I don't even like to mention it as talent, but everybody's been kind of surprised. And I'm somebody who doesn't who does it right the first time. I don't want to, pull any quick ones, and of course that really hurt my bank account, but that's all right. That was it was the whole experience of it. But I think the inspiration came from, being so young. When I was like, 3 or 4 or 5, I would always listen to the theme park attraction songs on these albums that they had. And it was interesting. I would never find any covers of some of my favorite songs. And so I just thought, it would be so cool to be able to cover some songs. And at the time, I had a cover out about, for my Jessica Rabbit song, Why Don't You Do Right? And it was so well received. And I thought, maybe this might be something I could do.
Over 3 million hits well received, if I might say.
It was like wild. It jumped from the early 2017 from like only 20,000 hits to 1 million within, I think it was only 2 months. So now it's approaching, I think it's past 3.5 million. And then now another cover of mine is almost at 1 million. And it's kind of weird how everything, goes viral, and people thought it was actually Amy Irving singing. So I thought, hey, this is really cool. Thank you. I really appreciate that. But I thought I would really like to pay tribute to the attractions and the park and the cast members who have been involved with these attractions, because I do all of that with the podcast, which is so much fun. I love it. I still do it. But the TR Talk Show podcast, I don't want to confuse anybody, but I was like, I really need to have some way to pull out this creative talent that I have inside of me from my, my musical roots, basically. And I never had done that before, but I really, really enjoyed being able to get my hands dirty, because I did the whole thing myself. I produced it. I had to get in touch with Disney, of course. I have to get their approval, because that was really difficult, because when you have songs that have never been covered before, they need to make sure that they have at least been released in the United States or somewhere around the world before you can cover them. If not, like, let's say there was a song, I'll be specific. Let's say, New World Bound from the American Adventure. It's the first song about the Pilgrims, which was written specifically for that attraction. Never was released. So I was not able to do that one. I was originally going to do a whole American Adventure medley. Wasn't going to be, wasn't going to happen, because there were other songs, from other songwriters that weren't Disney.
Yeah. From Disney standpoint, what's the justification for you can't cover it if we haven't released it? I don't understand the reasoning behind that.
I think I'm not quite sure. I think it's not even them. I think it's a legal technicality. I think it's due to, how contracts were set up, I believe, because I don't think it was mainly an issue just because, we don't want people who cover it to be the first ones covering it. I think it's just a legal technicality. But for sure, we actually had a difficult time finding whether or not someone like me from the Doug live show was released, because that song was on Doug's first movie soundtrack before the musical came out at the theme parks. I had seen that there was an album. I wasn't able to find one online, but somehow my Disney contact found it released only in Canada. And so we got the go ahead. So
nice.
It's very interesting how it all plays out. I had no idea. And there's still so much I have to do afterwards anyways. I'll be filing quarterly reports. I can't even talk today, ever for the rest of my life if the album, does well. And because, everybody gets their share of the song. They're not my songs, obviously, but, it was a big learning experience. I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, but I thought, when I got into it, I was like, I better make it good, because if I'm going to put this much time, funding into it and effort, I can't pull out any short stops. So I didn't. And I really had a great time. It was so much fun. Inspiration definitely from my younger childhood, but I was like, you know what? I'm young now. I would love to get into the industry. It would be great if somebody heard it and really liked it. I tweeted Bob Iger. I was like, hey, check out my album.
I saw that, and you never know. And
exactly.
I think as podcasters and people, both of us who have worked as closely as they will allow us to work with the Walt Disney Company, you seize the opportunities when you get them. Some years back, I ran into Anne Sweeney, who was then head of Disney ABC Television. I ran into her on the exhibit hall floor at the Consumer Electronics Show one year. And she had just done an interview with, it was like CNBC or one of those. And she was just kind of hanging around and not really doing anything. So, I seized the opportunity. I walked up to her, said, who I was and what I did, and handed her a business card, and never heard from her again. But nevertheless, I encountered Anne Sweeney, and just like your tweet to Bob Iger, you got to do it because you never know what's going to happen and who's going to see it. Exactly.
Well, it's interesting. I've gotten response from individuals I haven't even contacted about the album, and they're like, hey, somebody shared this with me. So I guess in some way it must be spreading. I'm not like wildfire, but that's okay. But you have no idea. And that wasn't the main reason of doing the album, but sure, it would definitely help my career. I'm not going to say never.
Yeah, first and foremost, you did it obviously because you're a huge Disney fan and have
absolutely
an incredible love for Walt Disney World, which is the source of all the songs on the playlist. But yeah, if something comes out of that, great. But even if you never went forward from this point, which is highly unlikely, I think you've got an incredible future ahead of you. The fact that you did it at all, I think is pretty impressive, and it kind of inspires the rest of us. It's like, aha, yeah, see, you can do stuff like this, and you should.
Thank you. I really agree with you on that. It doesn't hurt, first of all, but it's interesting because I was so lucky. I had already interviewed a lot of the people who are featured on the album, and that's how I was able to get in contact with them and ask if they wanted to be involved, which all of them said yes. Everybody I had asked said yes. And so I was just lucky to have them on the album and to have that experience and give that as a different experience for the listener is so much, is extremely thrilling. I assume you're going to ask about specific songs, so I'll stop talking.
We'll get there. We'll get there. And actually going exactly from that, one of the real standouts on the album is Ali Olmo. Ali Olmo, and I'm totally butchering your name. Ali Olmo. No, that's right. who did Two Brothers for American Adventure. And she did that a long time ago, and you got her to do it again for this album. Talk about that a little bit and what it was like to work with her.
Yeah, that was 35 years ago she recorded the song. I believe in around 81, 82, before the American Adventure attraction came out at Epcot. And I had interviewed her about it, and she told a very interesting story that a man was supposed to be singing that song. I believe that they were going to go for the male vocalist from New World Bound and have him sing that song, but a female Imagineer, I can't remember her name, asked Ali to record it herself. So she had her record it, sent it to the higher-ups, and they really liked a woman's take on the song. A take on the mother's point of view, the sister's point of view, the daughter's point of view, that type of thing. And so it added this different dynamic, and I found her through a friend of hers, thank God, because she doesn't have a website yet. I keep kind of pushing her, because she's so amazing. She has all of this talent and all of these amazing credits under her belt. And this guy got me in touch with her. We had a wonderful interview, and then I called her up. I said, hey, I'm doing this album. I'd love to have you, record it with me. Would you be interested? And she was thrilled. She was like, sure. So, it's just about asking. I'm usually not somebody who takes that leap of faith, but I took it that day, and thank goodness I did. She sounds exactly the same, but we put a different spin to it, and we added I think it was the additional verse that was cut from the original song written by Irving Gordon. Now, of course, it's not a Disney song, but it was technically featured in a Disney attraction, so I counted it.
It counts.
It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful ballad. And originally, we were going to have a music video, and it just didn't pan out the way I had hoped because of funding and all that good stuff. But you know what? It was mainly just to get the music out there, and I'm so glad that a lot of people are responding to that one in particular. They really like our take on it, and I'm glad you do too. So
it's fantastic. Now, were the two of you able to record in studio together, or did you do your part separately?
I really wanted to do that. We were actually very close to flying her here to Philly to record it, but we had to record on different coasts. So she recorded in California, and I recorded in Philly, and the magic of editing, as we all know, put us in the same room together. But man, oh man, that would be great to be able to perform it with her in person at some point.
One that I really liked, and it's super fun and kind of a surprise because you do a number of ballads on here and the powerful emotional songs. But just for kicks and giggles, on the album, you've got The Great Outdoors from the Country Bear Vacation Hoedown, and that just made me smile.
That one is so much fun. I was like, hey, we can't have a completely dreary album. But that song, I was such a big Disney sing-along VHS tape viewer, and it was also on Laserdisc for a while. And so I would watch those all the time, and there was a specific one dedicated to Disneyland from 1990. And they have that song for the Country Bear Jamboree. And this was before Fantasmic, which means Tom Sawyer's Island was open, especially the fort itself was open for people to go through. Now the fort is closed, and they use that for the cast members of Fantasmic and the crew members. But the video was so ridiculously silly, with the bears, and it's such a good tune. And it was great because George Wilkins, who I'm good friends with, I had interviewed him. He has done a lot of Disney stuff. If you're a big Disney World fan, please, look up his credits because he has a lot. But he wrote this song particularly, and I told him we were going to do it, and he was so sweet enough to arrange a different version for us, and also get Byron Berline, the guy who fiddled for the original Country Bear soundtrack for all three of them, I believe. He brought him into the project too, so that's who you hear fiddling in the background. Oh, it was so much fun. We had a ball. I recorded my material first about a couple weeks before we came in one night, recorded the group of amazing Jamboree singers, and then we filmed the music video all in one night, I think within 5 hours, but we had preparation and practice for about 2 days beforehand. And we just put something together that we thought was so much fun, and we worked really hard on it. It was so much fun. We had a great time.
And the video is up and going on YouTube as we speak.
Yes, I think we're almost at 20,000 hits on Facebook. So that's something to be said. People are checking it out. It was a fun video for sure. My dad's in it. My sister's in it. I got a couple of friends, old friends, new friends. It's really interesting to see this group of people come together so quickly and work and jive together like, a big Country Bear family. So it was a hoot to sing, in a little bit of a cowgirl style. I love it. It's fun because I get to play a part, and I adore that stuff.
That is so much fun. Now one song that's not on the album, but you did kind of mention it earlier, is the Jessica Rabbit tune, Why Don't You Do Right? When did you decide that was one that you wanted to do?
To be quite honest, it happened so long ago. I believe I recorded it maybe 3 years ago, and that was just for fun. I found a karaoke track on iTunes, and I purchased it, and I was just singing. And at that time, I was experimenting with recording with my computer and my new microphone. And I'm still kind of shocked at how well it sounds, because I was still I didn't know all the, ins and outs of editing audio, especially. And so I was just doing it for fun. I thought, it would be cool. Of course, I did not know, copyright issues. You usually can't put the film footage with the video. I didn't really know that at the time. This is, kind of like weird territory because it was my voice and it was the video, but I wanted to match them up, and I just did it for my own, sake, because I wanted to see how, cool it looked. And I just uploaded it for fun. And, of course it got copyrighted, but it wasn't taken down. So, all of those views that you see up there, I made nothing off of it. It's just, I knew. I knew I wasn't going to make anything off of it. I just wanted to put it out there because I thought it was so much fun to play around with my voice and do something jazzy, because I never usually do that. I usually do Broadway. So that was kind of a little bit something different. And I thought, I'll just put it out. And going viral last year was just crazy. I loved it. I was so ecstatic. I was like, yes, I'll take it. So a lot of people watched it, and a lot of people think it's still Amy Irving singing, and it's not. It's me.
No, really, it's me.
It's really me.
And speaking of Broadway, you have done your share of performing, not on Broadway yet, but you're working towards it. You were Belle in Beauty and the Beast. I love that.
It's interesting because, again, if I'm going back to Walt Disney World, my mom's favorite show is the Beauty and the Beast live on stage at the studios. And so we always go to see that show. And it was really interesting because not this past trip, but the trip before that, a friend of ours, I'd interviewed him, Jeff, and he was in the original cast in 1991. He still subs in for that show as the prince, believe it or not. And he was not going to be there that week we were there. And he texted me, he's like, hey, I'm subbing in for the day. Come and you get front row seats and we'll take you backstage to meet with, everybody. And we had never been in the front row before. After, 27 trips since 98, we had never been in the front row. We were always stuck in the back because we were always running late or whatever. And, my mom had to deal with the baby and me and so it was just all over the place. So we finally got to be in the front, and my dad, he loves Beauty and the Beast, but he's just not a show person. So he would always go to Tower of Terror and we would go to the show, but he was like, I better come and see it front row. And we were in love. Like, watching it from the front was just amazing. The colors, the pink dresses, Belle, it was great. So, and it was right before that I'd played Belle in a show, for kids, and they loved it. And it was so much fun to play because I'd listened to that Broadway album countless times because I love Susan Egan, who played her on Broadway. And I love Meg from Hercules, who she voices. So,
Yes.
I would always listen to that album. And so getting to play Belle, that was such a dream. And, I still love doing it. I think I dressed up as her for Halloween one time too. I have the hair color. I love to read books. I'm basically Belle, but I'm a little kookier, so. I'm more of like a Jane Porter from Tarzan, who seems to be related to her at some point. That there's that rumor. Who knows? But,
okay. I one of the best cosplays I ever saw at Comic-Con was a lady that did Jane in the yellow outfit and the pith helmet and all that. It was like I was stunned. I mean, it was one of those ones that it was so good it made my head just do a snap. And a turn. I'll have to post a picture. I will send you the picture. Yes. I may even post it online. It was from Comic-Con a couple years ago. And,
I would love to cosplay as, originally I was going to do a music video for Strangers Like Me. Mm-hmm. But again, if you listen to the song, I was lucky enough to have the approval from Disney to change pronouns and sing it as if I'm Jane, because Jane doesn't get a song in that movie, which is such a shame because Minnie Driver has a beautiful voice. Mm-hmm. So, but I was like, I would like to do that. So I was like, that would be cool to switch the roles in a music video. And I had this all planned out. Again, didn't work as planned, but that's okay. But I'd love to cosplay as Jane. I'm pretty much Jane, just without the accent.
There you go.
So it's cool.
So now, if people want to find the album and download it, iTunes certainly, and
iTunes, Amazon. You can listen to it on Spotify. But if you really want to support the album, it would be great if you could purchase it from Amazon or iTunes, because that's where most of the money is made. It would be great to at least break even on the project. I'm nowhere near that at the moment. Probably never will get there, but if you really like to support it, you're more than welcome to do so. I don't think anybody will be disappointed. I think it's worth the time and energy. Originally, there were going to be 12 songs, but had to settle for 12 and consolidate. 7 and consolidate. But I think it's worth it. I think people will really like it, and we have another music video coming out in May. So,
do we get a sneak peek of what it's going to be, or
it's going to be for Remember the Magic? But the theme of the video, I really think, will be enjoyed if I keep it a secret for right now. But we worked very, very hard, my family and I, to create this specific video ourselves during our last trip at Disney. So I'll leave you with a little bit of mystery, but when it's out, trust me, it will be worth, coming into it, not knowing anything about what the video is going to be. You know what the song is, but if you don't know what the video is, I think you'll really enjoy it 10 times more.
Nice. Now, if people want to find out more about you and about the Tiara, I always want to say Tiara, the Tiara Talk Show.
I always say Tiara. I started and I was like, I can't change it now because I've been talking about it like that way.
We're talking about the Tiara Talk Show here.
It's the East Coast. It's the East Coast
it's that
way
Philly
of talking.
thing. Yeah.
I try my best, but my Philly accent always finds its way into every single interview. I can't help it. I can't stop it. I try, but it ain't going to be tough.
But if they want to find out more about the podcast, where should they go and where can they find out more about Tammy Tuckey?
Yeah, my website is tammytuckey.com, and more information about the album, and we have a contest for the Great Outdoors video is also on that page. Past things that I've done, other performances I've done as well, the Jessica Rabbit video, all that good stuff is on my website, tammytuckey.com. And the Tiara Talk Show, is thetiaratalkshow.com. It's a bundle of Disney interviews, a lot of obscure material, things that I grew up with. And I just thought, hey, it would be very interesting to interview, let's say, what I was talking about earlier, the Disneyland sing-along tape. There were a lot of kids in that video and some adults, and I tracked down a couple of the kids and some of the adults, not in a creepy way, but
good to know.
I got in touch with them. We had a reunion interview. I think it was, 28 years later, and we had a really great conversation, like things like that, that are not usually on other Disney podcasts, because I feel like not everybody gets a lot of love, and I like to spread the love. So I like to talk to people who probably have never done an interview before. Like this week is with Larry Gertz, who was the main producer for the updated Jeremy Irons Spaceship Earth in Epcot, which I was in love with. So he had this huge challenge to change the very last scene, the 50s TV scene, and everything else afterwards. So he had some great tidbits. I couldn't find him anywhere, but again, I have such wonderful guests. They all refer each other, which is amazing, very, very sweet. So I'm lucky. I'm just lucky.
Isn't it fun? Isn't it fun talking to Disney people? It's just
they
cool.
understand.
And you and I are just two, Disney nerds, living the dream, right?
We are. I wish it was a paying job, but that's okay.
I
would love to make it full time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tammy, continued success on You'll Find Me on Main Street. Get it on Amazon, get it on iTunes, support the cause here. And it really is a super album. Congratulations
it's worth it.
Again.
And if you know somebody big in the business, give them a ring. Or if you know Bob Iger, send them the album.
I'm sure Bob listens to the show. So yeah. And that will do it for this edition of the Mouse Castle Lounge. Thank you, Tammy Tuckey, for joining us today. And by the way, the video for Remember the Magic that Tammy and I talked about earlier is now officially online, and you can take a look at it at Tammy's website at tammytuckey.com. Now, next week, we're cruising through the deepest, darkest jungles of Disneyland with my guest, historian, author, and former Jungle Cruise skipper, David Marley. Want to see the incredible backside of the Mouse Castle Lounge? Then visit our website at themousecastle.com. And right now, I'm selling items from my personal collection of Disney memorabilia at themousecastle.com. So if you'd like to check some of that out and maybe make a purchase or two, just click the link that says The Mouse Castle Sale. You can also find The Mouse Castle on Facebook and Instagram, and if you want to follow my Disney escapades on Twitter, follow me at Disney Tim. I'm a voice actor by profession because, well, podcasting pays lousy. So be sure to check out my voiceover stuff at vegasvoiceactor.com. The Mouse Castle Lounge is not affiliated with the Walt Disney Company. I just like to talk about them. I'm Tim Calloway. It's been a blast as always, so let's do this again real soon. Take care.
So remember that feeling. Just remember the magic one more time. Ooh, remember the magic.